Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who shows up on this podcast just as frequently as Mike Tomlin avoids losing seasons. Kyle, how are you doing?
I am doing great. Things are going well. Are you ready for us to meet in the Super Bowl? Is the question.
Yeah, I'm ready. I believe it'll be a Packers Buccaneers NFC Championship game with the Bucs Patriots in the Super Bowl. I'm here for it.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. We're ready for it. Just preparing you now. Just preparing you now for the inevitable.
Yes, Rex Smith says, "Is Kyle okay?" Kyle, are you okay?
Doing great this week. We're back. We are back.
Yeah.
I don't know. We got the win, so feeling good about that. I don't know why else I wouldn't be good. So
Yeah, it was a great week for this podcast. But we're gonna start off as we always do with the Sunday night game, which was a great game. I'm not sure if you've got it, and I was kind of saying, what are we doing with this being the Sunday night game? But it does feel right. Second to last week of the season, having a Ravens Steelers Sunday night game, lived up to the bill as Kenny Pickett keeps the Steelers alive amazingly somehow, some way. Who would have thought the Steelers would be in playoff contention longer than the Jets would be this season?
yeah, it seemed almost inexplicable. And Miami too. I mean, they're right in. I mean, weren't these teams 3-8 and 8-3 at one point in the season? Miami and
Something
Pittsburgh,
like
and now
that.
they're even record basically. This was an incredible run. Kenny Pickett has some balls on him, man. He really
Yeah.
does. Just he's not the Washington balls, but he's got some balls. Made some big time plays in this game. That last drive was something special. I mean, you just heard Chris Collinsworth in that, like, oh, this Kenny Pickett, man, just like if Patrick Mahomes made that throw, we'd be putting him in the Hall of Fame. You can't get enough of this kid, man. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
I had
just
a question about
incredible what he
that.
was able to do. Yeah.
I had a question about that quote. If Patrick Mahomes made that throw, we'd be putting him in Hall of Fame. I don't. What does that mean?
I think he's
We are
saying
putting Patrick Mahomes in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's true. I think he's basically just saying that people go crazy for those throw by Patrick Mahomes, and he proceeds to just completely hyperbolize the throw by Kenny Pickett, which was a pretty nice throw. It was a good play. But yeah, I mean, I think that quote's getting a little drawn out now. Like, yes,
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is amazing at football. We know it, and it's fun to watch Patrick Mahomes play. That doesn't mean everybody else is Patrick Mahomes. It's fine.
Yeah. Also, someone saying Jackson needs to hang some art or something behind those blank walls. I'm in Tampa right now because I was at the Buccaneers game, so that's why I'm don't worry. There's next podcast I will be back in my normal podcast studio. Will be normal again. Back to the game though. I mean, I don't know. Is there a reason for optimism with the Ravens of like their defense? I know you gave up the touchdown at the end there, but your defense has started to come along. Really, I mean, they've been giving up, under 20 points. The last time they gave up more than 20 points was to Jacksonville. That was in November. So there's maybe some hope that with Lamar coming back, that should rejuvenate the offense, and maybe you could be a complete team kind of at the right time.
Yeah, maybe, but like at the same time, like look at the schedule they've had to end this season. Basically, since the Buccaneers win, they've played Saints, Panthers, Jaguars, Broncos, Steelers, Browns, Falcons, Steelers. Jaguars were the only team that gave up 20 points there. Is that the only respectable offense really in that conversation? Like, I mean,
Sure.
I think that's kind of something I'm looking at there is that like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you're happy to get in the playoffs and say the defense is playing better, but you're also taking advantage of a situation where I don't think you're playing very good defenses. I'm just out on the Ravens because their receivers aren't healthy, and I just don't think there's much of a passing game to this offense without those receivers. Even though Lamar's out there, I just don't trust that.
Yeah, I guess I get it. I don't know. I think I'm a little higher on you, or higher on them than you, but I can see it. Joe in the chat says, "Classic Brady comeback, nice Pats defense, and my Giants played like a real playoff team against the Colts playoffs. We were just trying to win a game." Yeah, good stuff there from Joe. Yeah, all three of our teams doing well. A lot of good stuff here. Some teams, some not some good stuff for some teams, but a lot of good stuff.
Like the
With all of
Ravens.
this. Yeah, right. Are we buying Steelers stock? I guess we should talk about it because the way it works next week is if the Patriots beat the Bills, they're in. If they lose and Miami wins their game, then they're in. And then if the Steelers, if the both of those teams lose and the Steelers beat the Browns, then they're in. The Miami plays the Jets. So Steelers, they got some work to do, but it kind of feels like last year, right? Where it feels like a few things have to happen, but last year they found a way in. Maybe they'll find a way in this year too.
Yeah, it's not impossible, that's for sure. I mean, they have a shot to make it. I mean, I know Cleveland has played, I think they're another team where the defense is kind of playing better at the right time of the season, it feels like. I think is going to give them a run for their money, but I mean, if you're going to say who do I think is most likely to win, Miami potentially without Tua still against the Jets, the Patriots against Buffalo, or the Steelers against the Browns, I would say the Steelers are probably the most likely of those three to win a game, right?
It would be incredible if somehow they can make again. Mike Tomlin now 8-8. Does this streak still? All they got to do is tie next week, and they'll keep the streak alive. A lot of good stuff there. Let's move on, Kyle. Let's talk about the game we're all here to talk about. The Buccaneers pull off somehow, some way. They pull off in one of the weirder games of the year, one of the more fun games of the year, maybe one of the most fun games I've ever been at personally. Electric atmosphere, electric win. Regardless of how we're here, the Buccaneers are in the playoffs, and I'm happy about it.
Do you just need to drink for 30 straight minutes of this with this team or something like that? I mean, it's just I don't know.
Kinda.
It's like the first two quarters you could just take off and come back. And it's like they're not going to play the first two quarters. I'm just not going to show up. And then in the second half, we'll see what happens. It seems like that's them every game this season.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to. I mean, one thing the Buccaneers did in this game was they started running a hurry up offense with 10 minutes left in the game. I mean, clearly,
Yeah.
you almost have to give credit to someone tweeted it out to me, and I agree with it. If you also have to give credit to Todd Bowles of finally just saying, you know what, Brady, just go make it work, just go figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it finally happened in week 17. We've been saying this all season, and finally 10 minutes left in their season on the line. He's just like, all right, go save us. And then Brady goes ahead and does it. And, one of my podcast points for the show today, at one point in this game, because I'm watching the first half, he has the ball basically bounce off his chest. And I was about to say, this is a pretty brutal Mike Evans season. I was about to say it because it looked bad to start. He had the ball bounce off his chest. It just seems like time after time he's either out of sync with his quarterback, or he's dropping a key pass, or he's out of position on a pass. And then all of a sudden he just goes ballistic in this game. And they said, you know what? We're going to isolate you. We're going to hit you downfield, and it's going to work every time because you're Mike Evans. And then it just worked.
Yeah, I mean, the first two were against quarters coverage where, the second the safety doesn't go in, Brady, the first time it was designed, second time it wasn't, but Brady noticed it and got it over there. And then the third time, I don't know what you're doing playing cover zero with CJ Henderson and Mike Evans after he's already burned you for 2 long touchdowns. Some questionable stuff there by Carolina. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the Mike Evans game, right? This is the one we're going to look back at and say, remember when Mike Evans had 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in a game that they needed every bit of that to win this one. I don't think it's a close game without Mike Evans. I don't think Tampa Bay is even in it. He was incredible in this one.
Yeah, he was. So here's the question. So I think this coaching staff has come under fire a little bit for me. And while I think the coaching staff does deserve blame, Todd Bowles has continued to coach an incredibly good defense, I think.
Yeah.
So is it really just letting, does he need to bring in a whole new offensive staff, it feels like, this offseason? And I mean, who knows what Brady's future is going to look like? Obviously, it's the big question. But it just seems like he needs to cede a little bit of control because the offense is coached like a defensive coordinator is coaching it.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I felt all year is that Todd Bowles has done a very good job with this defense. And, in this game, they gave up a decent amount of passing yards, but they made a clear effort to stop the run. They were successful in that, and then they forced Darnold to throw the ball. Darnold made some good throws in this one, but he also made some Sam Darnold throws and some Sam Darnold plays that resulted in turnovers, and that was kind of the difference here. I think that what he's done on defensively has been very good. But yeah, the offense had it's struggled. And again, there's been other issues. It hasn't just been coaching. That's just the easy one to point to. But who cares? We're in.
Yeah.
And if they figure it out now, hey, figuring it out week 17 is stupid, but if that's what it takes and now we're hot at the right time, I'm not mad at it.
Yeah. Well, so and then one more question for you. So what were the vibes in the stadium like on the Jake Camarda punt? Take me through that situation.
It was, I mean, yeah, that was one of the louder applauses. Is when the punt got off and when the punt landed, inside the 5 yard line. I mean, it was terrifying. It was like it was legitimately like I don't think there can't have been a noise that happened. It was just like I don't know. It was almost like a shock thing of like what's happening here. Because again, if he picks it up and falls on it, it's not the end of the world. We're up 6 points. There's 50 seconds left, no timeouts. Like that's still not a guaranteed. It's not we would have lost, but it was still definitely very nerve wracking.
Yeah. I mean, it was a huge play though. I mean, his ability to get to the
Yeah,
sideline and get that
incredible.
off. I mean, it was a huge thing. Yeah, I mean, it was a fun game. Buccaneers managed to come back. Like you said, the offense kind of got going. I think Russell Gage, I know he only had 3 catches in this game. I think he's been a big part of this offense too when he's healthy. And it's been a little bit of a easier path for Godwin and Evans to get open and get better coverage. I think that's been a big thing. Last question on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for you. We're going to talk about these two teams later. If you had your choice, wild card round, Tampa Bay hosting, would you rather see Philadelphia or would you rather see Dallas?
Dallas. I would say Dallas because we've beaten Dallas. That's my logic is we've beaten them before, so I like that.
You beat Philadelphia last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, but those are different teams.
Yeah.
I feel I feel stupidly optimistic about our chances regardless right now. I'm riding a high. I'm just going to ride that for as long until it immediately comes crashing down. But I think that I think that this is a team that shouldn't be favored against anyone in the playoffs, but could beat anyone in the playoffs.
Yeah. I think it could too. I mean, if they run this offense full time, like we said, I
Hmm.
think this offense is pretty good when they just let loose. So we'll see. Kind of crazy. I mean, they got one more chance to get to, above 500. I think they probably do it. Go rolling into the wild card weekend.
Yeah. My last thought about the Bucs, just real quick, of the Ryan Suckup thing is a little bit concerning. He was, had a blocked punt from very short. He also missed a 52-yarder. The reality is, it's a little concerning to see him kind of struggle here in this game. Hopefully, it's just a bad game. And then we got to talk about the Panthers a little bit too. Again, if Panthers have J.C. Horn, this is potentially a different game. I think. I mean, I
Yeah.
know the Buccaneers didn't have Carlton Davis, but like I think that the Buccaneers have much more cornerback depth than the Panthers do. So I think them losing their number one corner is more it's a bigger blow. So good season for the Panthers. Good in terms of you're hopefully showing that you have some pieces there, but they got to figure out the quarterback. They got to figure out the offense before they can really go in the right direction.
Yeah, I think this was a rough game for CJ Henderson. That's what
Yeah.
it feels like. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, he was a little bit picked on in this game. And yeah, I mean, it's tough because it's like this was actually a pretty good Darnold game. Like, I thought he was pretty. I mean, he had some scary throws. Definitely had some that he had a few more that could have been picked. DJ Moore saved a pick with an offensive pass interference, too. But I thought, the first, 2.5, 3 quarters, I thought he was pretty solid in this game. They couldn't get the ground game going and they couldn't get the defense going without that corner without Horn out there. And I thought that was a big part of what they were able to do when they did have a little bit of success this season.
Yeah. Great game, a lot of fun. And also, playing Country Roads at the end was very fun. It's silly that that's become like a Buccaneers song. It's always fun when those kind of weird things happen in sports. That was a good time. Joe requested that we talk about the Giants soon. Well, since you gave the super chat, we'll do that. The Giants are in playoffs. Danny Dimes had a really good game of 91 rushing yards, 117 passing yards on 27 attempts, 2 touchdowns, no interception, 4 total touchdowns for Daniel Jones as the Giants looked like a playoff team against the Indianapolis Colts, and they are now in the playoffs and in the 6th seed as well. So it's looking like they could play Minnesota, which would be interesting as they played them tight just a couple weeks ago. So this Giants
Yeah.
team, again, another team where we've kind of said, hey, I don't know about this team, but hey, who knows?
I mean, anything seemed possible. This was one of their better performances of the season. I mean, right? I
Hmm.
think you got to say that. I think Jones has been steadily impressive. And I mean, he's definitely earned himself another year in a new contract, I think, at this point. I think he's been pretty good in this team. And I think given the situation he's in too, where I think Dayball's a good coach. I think he's, has a heavy influence on this offense. The the talent around him just isn't it. And he's been able to kind of raise this talent. I mean, Richie James has become a real guy, it seems like at times too. This was just a professional performance from the Giants. They knew exactly what they needed to do. Winning, you're in. They went and kind of dominated a team that's been reeling a little bit. Um, so I think they did what they had to do. They also didn't put a lot of load on Saquon in this game, which I think helps because I think he could use some rest. And I think you probably sit him out all in next week, right? Now that you're in. So I think that's probably what you do, and then head into the playoffs from there.
Yeah, who'd have thought that next week it'll be the Giants resting their starters against the Eagles, who will be playing their starters. It's backwards from what we thought it would be a few weeks ago. Yeah, I mean, one thing I have to say though is you were talking about the talent. Uh, Kayvon Thibodeau has emerged into a star in this league. I mean, another sack in this one. Weird celebration. Gotta say that. Maybe don't after you hurt the guy, then do a snow angel right next to him for like what felt like 45 minutes. Maybe you can. But other than that, he's playing at an incredible level as well and making these splash plays. He's noticeable, and that could be maybe the piece they need right here.
He's been huge. I mean, do we need to do the Trayvon Walker thing right now? Because Hutchinson was awesome this week too. I mean, uh, it's
Mm-hmm.
been rough for that part for the Jaguars, although they might make the playoffs still, so I guess they're okay. But yeah, he's been awesome. He's been electric. He's been a playmaker, and he was a playmaker in this one. Um, I got to give a shout out to my man Nick too, by the way, who not only is probably the biggest Giants fan I know. He goes to a road Giants game every season. He was in our fantasy football finals, had Lamar Jackson. Instead of playing Daniel Jones, who he kept on his bench the entire season, he goes to the waiver wire to add Brock Purdy, loses the fantasy football championship because he didn't play Daniel Jones. So shout out to Nick.
Okay, shout out Nick. Sorry that you're getting blasted here on the On the Sideline podcast. But yeah, I mean, I have nothing to say about the Colts. Nick Foles maybe isn't. Nick Foles had a worse had a worse day than the other Nick there. But I don't know. Good win for the Giants. We'll see if it continues.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, good win for the Giants. This is another sad loss for the Colts. This is a little more. I mean, I guess you feel better about this one if you're the Colts because like you didn't blow a 30-point lead, but
Right.
it's been a rough end of the season for Indianapolis. But they're going to be in play. They're going to be in a good draft position. They're going to get a new quarterback. They can finally draft a quarterback rather than getting into veteran. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe Jim Irsay is just playing Galaxy Brain with this right now, right? This is just like inside baseball kind of stuff. He hired
Right.
someone who is basically a TV guy saying,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of these veteran quarterbacks. I need to be bad enough to draft one. We're going to tank. Now they're going to be in a position to get a good quarterback or good
Yeah.
prospect.
My brother joked when we were at the Buccaneers game of he said, "Do you think that Jeff Saturday's job might be in trouble?" Yeah, I think it might be.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. Kyle, sorry for making you wait about your team as a huge win for the New England Patriots and also just kind of the other stuff going around. Patriots control their own destiny. Who would have thought that the Patriots, Buccaneers, Steelers, Packers, all these teams would still be in the hunt? And, 3 out of 4 of those could make it into playoffs. Kyle, I'll let you have the floor. Your thoughts on this game?
um, It was a pretty good win, I think, overall. They outplayed the Dolphins in this one. I thought the defense was awesome again. They gave up a late touchdown, didn't really mean all that much to us, obviously. They got the onside kick would have made it interesting, but they felt pretty comfortable in that one. A couple things that I thought were interesting in this game. Tyquan Thornton was the first one. He had a couple big plays, drew another flag too, and you know, I think if he ends up being pretty good at receiver too, you look at this draft class where, I mean, I still think Cole Strange is the wrong pick. I think he's all right. I don't know if he's going to be a star guard or anything like that, but he seems all right. But if you look at like Tyquan Thornton, Jack Jones didn't play in this game. He's been awesome this season. Marcus Jones didn't play in this game. He's been awesome this season. And that was the big thing with this Patriots team this week is, Bill Belichick is a big take away your best opponent, make you play with one hand time behind your back. This team was just destroyed of cornerback depth this week. They had virtually everybody except for Jonathan Jones, that's amongst their top corners, out. and they're still able to hold, I would say, 103, 100 and I got to do math here. Holy crap. 107 combined yards from Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle is a pretty good game given that. So I thought that was a pretty good game. I thought Mac made some nice throws in this game. The offensive line still scares me. And I just, I don't know. This team's been so frustrating this season. It's hard because even when they win a game like this and I'm excited, I'm also like, okay, I look back and say they had the dumb loss to Vegas. They had the dumb loss to Cincinnati. They had the dumb loss to Minnesota. We wouldn't even have to be worried about week 18 if we just won one of those games. If we won two of those games as we should have, that would have changed everything. And we lost all three of them. So now we're battling for week 18.
Yeah, no, it really is true. I mean, this is a team that could have really had it. I mean, the most obvious one I feel like is just the Ramondre Stevenson fumble. I mean, that one.
Mhm.
I guess I have to be specific. The one against the Cincinnati of like that. Right there. That was the that's the difference between being in the playoffs and having to beat Buffalo. And I think we can talk about that for a second because I know we'll obviously preview it more on Wednesday. But I mean, that's a Wednesday at 9 o'clock, by the way, if you want to join in live. The you know the question is Buffalo going to rest their starters or not? And I feel like you have to be rooting hard for Cincinnati next week, right? Make sure Buffalo doesn't have a chance at that 1 seed.
Yeah. So is that the deal? Is that basically if they lose that game, they're not the one seed automatically?
I'm trying to figure out what the I think that there would be a so if Cincinnati wins, then what would have to happen? I think I'm trying to just I'm running the ESPN playoff machine right now to try and figure this out. But I guess there would still be a chance they could get it with a Cincinnati, Kansas City loss in Week 18 and a Buffalo win. So I guess that they might still play their starters there, but maybe they'll just say, Cincinnati was in that situation last year where like if like four things went right, they could get the 1 seed and they just rested their starters. So there's at least a chance that they could at least take their foot off the gas.
Yeah. So I guess that'll be interesting. But yeah, I mean, overall, we'll see what happens. They did not look too good against Buffalo a
And also I
few
forgot
weeks
to
ago.
mention. Sorry to interrupt, but Kansas City plays on Saturday too, so that could potentially, if they win that game, then that could potentially then they would be out of the 1 seed.
Oh, well, that'll be excellent. So let's
Hmm.
hope for that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. But we'll see what happens. I guess that's all I really can say. I hope we can beat Buffalo. I don't know if we can beat Buffalo. The way we need some guys on defense healthy, definitely. We managed to survive because it was Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson in this game. But I
Hmm.
don't know if we can survive with these corners against Buffalo. That's for sure.
Yeah, the thing about Miami is just odd because it felt like it's a team that, like, on paper, you think any quarterback could come in and play at least solid. They, have a good backup quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater, and he ended up with at least decent yards in this game. The bad interception was kind of the thing, and then he gets banged up. But he still wasn't fantastic, and then obviously Skylar Thompson is Skylar Thompson. So it's like you'd think that this is a team that wouldn't be too reliant on quarterback. They'd be okay, but really they do need Tua, and they need Tua to play well.
Yeah, Tua is a little bit better than what they have, basically, is the solution. And yeah, I mean, I think it's made
Mhm.
a huge difference. I think the timing that he has in his game, I think, is a huge thing. So yeah, I mean, they're struggling without him, and I don't know if he's going to play next week. So we'll see what happens with that. Uh, the Patriots, this defense, I mean, 18 interceptions on the season, 7 defensive touchdowns on the season. This has been a fun defense to watch this season. This Patriots team, I think they're a good Patriots team. I think this is a pretty good team. The problem is that they're bad at certain core areas, and that it makes it look really bad. They're, I would say, below average this season at quarterback. They're below average at receiver. They're bad at offensive tackle, and they're bad at play calling. They have a good interior offensive line, and they can run the ball kind of well. Like that's kind of what this team is right now on offense.
Yeah, I think so as well. Let's move on. Let's talk about one of the bigger upsets of the week. Why don't we? As the Saints beat the Philadelphia Eagles, and how frustrated they must have been to find a way to beat the Eagles and still get knocked out of the playoffs due to the Panthers losing and the Packers winning of their rules. Panthers, you couldn't have helped us out a little. Was not able to be done. Gardner Minshew had a rough day in this one. Again, yardage total is still fine, but there was some issues there. They definitely are missing Hurts as well. Obviously, missing your star quarterback didn't really hurt him too much against Dallas. Hurt him more here. Good win for the Saints. You feel good about it, but at the end of the day, kind of is all for naught.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer that it kind of ended this way, but yeah, I mean, this was kind of a throwback New Orleans defensive performance. It felt like I thought this defense was
Hmm.
really good in this game. They got after Gardner. They made him, panic. They forced mistakes out of him. They forced fumbles out of him. It just seemed like everything was sort of working for the Saints defense. You know, it's kind of just a bummer of a season. I thought, there's still times where I watch this team and think they can be a good football team. We just didn't see it enough out of them this year, and that's where they're at now. And I mean, at this point, if you're able to bring back some of these guys, I don't know what their cap situation's like. I'm assuming it's still pretty bad.
Not great. Hmm.
Yeah. I like, do you try and find a way to get some sort of quarterback help? I mean, that's probably what you have to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, I just don't know. I think the Saints are in a tough spot. I think they've got a long rebuild ahead of them. You don't have the draft pick. Don't have a ton of cap space. You have an owner who's willing to spend and spend a lot. And who knows? Maybe Sean Payton will come back. That would be a big step in the right direction. But as a
Yeah.
whole, I just think they're in a tough spot right now.
Yeah. Obviously the quarterback is the big thing, but I mean, at the same time, like with the draft capital and the amount they traded for guys like Olave, how many of these guys are all of a sudden on the trade block? I mean, you gotta imagine if they can get anything from Michael Thomas, given his injury history, they're gonna do it. Do you start putting guys like Demario Davis, Marshawn Lattimore, Cameron Jordan? Are those guys on the block now?
Maybe, but again, I thought they would have been last year. I thought last year would have
Yeah.
made perfect sense to start the rebuild, and they didn't want to. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's really hard to tell what they want to do now. It seems like that they're refusing to admit that they went all in 2 years ago and didn't win it. That seems like what it is.
Yeah. Are there any concerns about the Eagles here? Eagles dropping, back-to-back games. They also were, the game against the Bears 3 weeks ago was competitive. Now, granted, dropping back-to-back games without Hurts, right? That's obviously the asterisk behind it. Is you're losing games without your MVP candidate quarterback. You feel a little bit better about that, but still, this is a team that we felt like was going to coast for the 1 seed. They have to. They probably have realistically they have to win next week to get the 1 seed. If a very interesting kind of situation where if they lose next week, and then San Francisco wins, they can get the 1 seed. There's a way that the Dallas can still get the 1 seed. Any of those three teams can get it at this point. So, and probably Dallas or Minnesota will win. So Philadelphia realistically has to win.
Yeah, I mean, they have to win because if they lose, I mean, regardless of what happens with everybody else, if they lose, they're traveling to Tampa Bay for the playoffs. I
Right.
mean, I don't see Dallas losing to Washington in that spot. It is possible. I don't think, it is possible, but at the same time, Washington has nothing to play for. Dallas has all that to play for. They have to win. And yeah, I mean, I am concerned about this Eagles team right now because I think the problem is this was another team where, like, yeah, I thought Jalen Hurts has been really good this season. There's been real development, but at the same time, like they had some good things on offense, but you could see the difference in this running game without Hurts out there. And how healthy, if he's not in the 1 seed and gets that extra week of rest, how healthy is he going to be for a potential wild card game if he's, coming back to that game after taking 3 weeks off? How is that going to look? This offensive line is all of a sudden really banged up at this point of the season where they'd been relatively healthy all year. And I think that's a big thing too in this one where Minshew sacked 6 times. So I'm worried about that. I don't know how that's going to work. We'll have to, gauge this on how it looks next week because it is a much winning game, I feel like, for them.
Yeah, and I mean, also, it's not just Dallas too, but it's if San Francisco wins and if Philadelphia loses, San Francisco gets the 1 seed. Now Philadelphia will get the 2 seed in that scenario, which is obviously better than the 5 seed. But still, you don't want that to happen. You don't want to have to lose the 1 seed. And San Francisco plays the Cardinals, so they're winning next week. Philadelphia has to win.
Yeah. So big spot for them. But yeah, I mean, I just don't know. Like, I think this offensive line is really important to what they do, and it's a really good offensive line. And if it's not 100%, I'm a little worried going forward.
Yeah, I definitely think when healthy, I feel like the Eagles are the best team in the NFC by far. I just don't know how healthy they are, and that's the concern. And we'll maybe learn more on the preview show. Let's talk about the 49ers, who Brock Purdy does just enough to beat the Jarrett Stidham-led Raiders. Who would have thought Stidham would have the day he had? Over 10 yards per attempt, 2 interceptions, but they weren't really his fault. as Devontae Adams. He went to Adams early and often. Adams 153 yards and a couple touchdowns in this game. But again, Christian McCaffrey was incredible in this one. McCaffrey had just shy of 200 all-purpose yards, and that was Brandon Ayuk had over 100 receiving yards in this game, and Brock Purdy again still had a solid performance from Brock Purdy. I think this wasn't his best game, but it was still a solid performance from him. And the 49ers win it in overtime after a missed field goal sent it to overtime.
Yeah. It was a solid performance, like you said. Obviously, he had a couple mistakes, but still a pretty clean performance. And they asked him to drop back a lot in this game. They were not afraid to send him back there. And he stepped up and made some big throws, I thought, in this game, especially when Vegas came out. Vegas came out hot in this game. I thought they played pretty well to open this game and continued it into the second half. So yeah, I mean, he managed to step up again, and every time we're just waiting for this Brock Purdy thing to go sideways. He just makes it look even better and better. What do you do with this going forward, regardless of what happens this season? So you have Garoppolo free agent, you have Brock Purdy, and you have Trey Lance coming back from injury. Well, how does this work?
I actually think I think it's you let Garoppolo walk and then you let Purdy and Lance fight for the job next year.
Yeah. If Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl, is there a fight or is it just his job?
No, if he wins the Super Bowl, it's his job. You can't Trent Dilfer it. You got to win the Super Bowl, you keep him.
Yeah, I feel like you have to too. I mean, if he makes the Super Bowl, is it his job? I feel like it is. I mean, regardless, I mean that's a long time from now. But this San Francisco team is really good. I mean, even like this team was due for a little bit of a butt kicking on defense, just because defenses aren't constantly that amazing all the time. There's a lot more variance to defense than there is offense usually. But still, even when a bad defensive game, it's like I think the Raiders had a 4th and goal at the 1. And you're just like, San Francisco's probably getting the stop here. And sure enough, they get the stop. They just do it over and over again. This defense is so good, even when on its worst day. So they don't have to face Devontae Adams in the playoffs. That will help. And they continue to look good.
Yeah, I felt like they were really dialed in on Josh Jacobs, allowed some play actions to happen as well. The 49ers were. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about what do they do if they win the Super Bowl. I think what we should be talking about is, could this team win the Super Bowl? I mean, in fact, I have a question for you. Should the 49ers be favored in the NFC at this point?
Yeah, I would put them as the favorite. I mean, who else do we do at this point? The Eagles are banged up and haven't looked like they haven't obviously been their best selves the last 2 weeks. Obviously, if you get a healthy Jalen Hurts and you're guaranteed a healthy Jalen Hurts, you probably still have him as a favorite, but that's not guaranteed right now. I would say 49ers are the favorite in the NFC.
Okay, yeah. I think they're definitely favorite too if they can get the 1 seed, which is, again, not that crazy. Like, it's possible. All they need is 2 things to happen. One of them is them beating the Cardinals.
Yeah, and if they're playing David Blowout next week, I feel pretty good about it.
Right, yeah. So, good stuff. I don't know what to make of this Raiders team. Do you think the Raiders are excited that they get to play on Saturday? Their season gets to end a day early?
Yeah, they can go on vacation a little bit faster. How do you think David Carr's vacation's going? Derek Carr. I said David Carr.
I hope good.
Brother's been out of the league. Yeah. We still never found out where he went,
Mm-hmm.
You think he just
they
went
probably
back
don't want
to
to just
Fresno?
advertise that.
I don't know. I would. Make it a reality show.
Okay, sure. I'd watch that. I'd watch you on a reality show in Cabo or whatever.
Do I get to bring Derek Carr with me?
Yeah, you and Derek Carr. I think that. Who else would be in the reality show?
Let's see. I get to pick anybody?
Yeah.
Oh man. I guess if I had to Big Brother house this thing, I'll take Derek Carr. He's not doing much. I feel like I need a writer of some sort, like an interesting writer. Can I go back and bring Ernest Hemingway back to life? Bring him with me. He could tell war stories with us. I mean, that'd be fun. And then after that, I'm okay. I don't know a lot of celebrities, honestly. I don't know who I'd pick. Give me Messi, I guess. Messi's cool.
Okay, sure. So Messi, Hemingway, and Derek Carr, and you. The 4 horsemen.
That's a house. That's gonna be a good time.
Hey, it'd be a show to watch. You couldn't miss out on it. What are we talking about? Let's move on. Let's go to let's talk about some of these. Let's go Packers Vikings. One of the bigger upsets of the. It wasn't a huge upset. Actually, the Packers were favored in this one, but the way it happened was definitely surprising. The Packers just really blowing the brakes off of the Vikings. And Kyle, I have a take.
Okay.
I have a take. The Am I a bad sports fan if I'm kind of rooting for the Packers to make the playoffs at this point?
No, I mean,
I
why
mean, I know
not? I
everyone's
mean,
supposed to root for the Lions, but like, I don't know. This Packers team feels like the best team that's competing for the 7th seed right now.
yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think they're playing good football. I think things have looked better, and this defense is starting to figure some stuff out. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be upset if the Packers made the playoffs. So yeah, I'd be okay with it. I mean, this is just. Do we need to toot our own horn here? Do we just need to give ourselves all the credit? I mean, we're
The
not the
Viking
only
horn.
ones saying it. Yeah, the Viking horn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a fraudulent football team, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, again, like you said, we're not the only ones saying it. I think we all knew that there was a bit of this team was overrated a tad, and I think that this is a situation where I don't know. While that was true, I also felt I don't know. Here's what I am more surprised by though is even with this team being overrated, like Justin Jefferson didn't have a good day in this one. I think what's interesting to me about
Yeah.
this game is the Packers defense has started to look like the Packers defense we thought it would be, and it's at the perfect time.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe Joe Burry just needed 16 weeks to heat up. Now he's going. Or I guess
Yeah, I
what?
guess so.
He needed 13 weeks to figure it all out. Now it's going
Mm,
into play. So yeah, the fraud cadence, I think you know, ran into a bit of a buzzsaw here, and that was a bit of a problem. And Green Bay is rolling. Green Bay is rolling. They're doing everything they wanted to. They ran the ball effectively well in this game. Um, you know, they take a lot of shots downfield all of a sudden. It seemed like at one point I was watching and there was like 3 or 4 plays, and I think 2 of them were deep shots to Christian Watson. And it's just like, okay, they're just gonna, try this every once in a while and hope it sticks. And it seems like they're playing with some confidence on offense, which is not something we saw, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago.
yeah, I mean, yeah, no, well, to me, the biggest stat I have here is one targeting Justin Jefferson. Total EPA was -6.2 in this game. I
Yeah.
mean, that's usually if that's flipped, that's a normal game. Also, future New England Patriot KJ Osborne, +6.3.
Guy's good. He's gonna
Mm-hmm.
line up in New England. He's looked good in the colors.
He's such a Patriot. He's such a future Patriot.
Him and Tim Patrick are definitely signing with the Patriots. I'm calling it now. We're
Uh,
getting them for like 50 cents on the dollar.
Yeah. Also appreciate the super chat. Keith Murray says, "Go Niners." They're going. Yeah. I don't know. At the same time, though, it's like with the Vikings, I still think the Vikings are a solid team. Like they're not their record. I think we all know they're not their record, but like I still think this is a good team.
Yeah, it's one of the best 7.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
probably closer to 7 than it is 2. That's the thing.
Uh-huh. That might be fair. Keith Murray also says, thank you, Vikes. So again, thank you for the super chat. Yeah, that helped out the 49ers. Is now they fall to the 3 seed, which I don't know. Maybe not the worst spot to be.
What's that? The Vikings?
The 3 seed. I mean, getting to play the Giants in the first round.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, it might work out because that's the thing. It's like it's not great because you definitely rather play the Giants than the Packers at this point. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
especially
mean,
what we just saw from the Vikings of beating the Giants and then getting crushed by the Packers.
yeah, exactly. So they beat the Giants, but a couple blowouts in there, and if you it's just crazy like looking at this team and what they've done this season. Their games against the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Packers, they've just been dismantled. They lost to the Lions too by double digits, who's another fringe playoff team in the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
The only playoff team they've beaten basically is the Giants. It's just it's been a rough year.
Yeah, and
It's been a weird year, I guess. Yeah.
right. Yeah, it's definitely been a weird year. And wait a second, Joe in the chat is still in the chat. I did put the Giants second because you said you had to go, and now you're still up. What's happening
Oh
here,
yeah.
Joe?
He needed to hear this Vikings talk. Is what happened. He wanted to
I think
see.
so. Well,
You know,
we're such good podcasters. You can't turn us off.
yeah, that too. You're just listening to us in your sleep.
Right. I think so. He's sleep chatting.
He heard giants in his ears and just popped back awake. Yeah.
Yeah. Keith Murray says, I agree. We could have avoided Packers, Eagles, and Cowboys by staying 3 seed. We may be in a worse spot as a 2 seed. LOL. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's an interesting point as well. So a lot of interesting stuff with the stuff, but obviously at the same time, it's like, you didn't want to get blown out in this game. Like, it might work out for you, but like, this isn't what you wanted to have happen. And you're right. This level of competition raises, Kirk Cousins has struggled. And that's kind of been Kirk Cousins in his whole career, right?
It really has been. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it time and time again. It's just like into the primetime Kirk thing is a joke, but at the same time, outside of what basically one playoff game against the Saints, like when have we seen Cousins kind of rise to the occasion to make the throws he needs to?
Yeah, I mean, it's just not. It's possible it'll change, but as of right now, it hasn't. Two very interesting teams. We'll talk more about them on Wednesday. I don't know. Let's finish up with the Lions Bears. It looked like it was going to be competitive for I don't know a little bit, and then all of a sudden, it was all Lions from there. As you know, really, this Bears defense. We know this Bears defense is. This was not the not. This might be the perfect Justin Fields stat line of passing 7 for 21 for 75 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and then rushing 132 yards. Does not get more Justin Fields than that.
Yeah. It was a bit of a rough game, that's for sure. It's been such a weird stretch with him this season, right? Like, I mean, he had another play in this game. He had like a 70-yard run, 60-yard run in this game. That was an electric run and an electric play. But I just fail to see like how long term this is gonna fit if you are 33% passer for 3.6 yards an attempt, right?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, it's just weird. Like, I think there's some quarterbacks where it's like, they're different, right? I mean, Justin Fields, you don't evaluate him the same way you evaluate Jared Goff.
That's true. But I mean, this was an objectively bad game though.
Sure, but I think the overall body of work has shown. I mean, I'm still not. I don't know. I'm saying that this season was a step in the right direction for Fields, and then next year you hope that he continues to develop as a passer.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hope. I guess the thing is, like, do you see a scenario in the future where Justin Fields is a top 15 quarterback in football?
Yeah, I can see it.
I think I need to see it a little more first.
Okay, fair enough. Who would have thought I'm the Justin Fields guy all of a sudden?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I just don't know. I just don't see you being able to actually like win football games this way. And I mean, obviously he's going to need help. The offensive line hasn't been great. Like as much of a playmaker as he is, like I said, he has some electric runs, but like he also took 7 sacks, and I got to say, as bad as I think his offensive line is, not all of those sacks were on the offensive line. I just think that there's a lot of times where it's like, okay, where is the development here as far as passer?
Yeah, we have a Lions fan in the chat saying James Houston steal of last year's draft, 6th round edge from Jackson State. He's second in rookie sacks and just started on the Lions since Thanksgiving. He had 3 sacks in this game. And again, Fields he'll give you opportunities to bring him down, but it's not an easy guy to bring down. So good stuff there. But yeah, I agree with you about the reality is, here's how I view Justin Fields. Here's just how I view him is. There's things he does incredibly well, which is running the football. That's pretty much what he does incredibly well. He's an incredible scrambler of the football. He is not an effective passer. He has never shown the ability to be an effective passer in the NFL through this point. He's had a couple of games where statistics have looked nice in easy situations, and that's been it. But the reality is quarterbacks are weird. And there's stuff he does well and stuff he does poorly. And part of what he does poorly might be because of the lack of talent around him. Very similar to how I viewed Tua last year of, I felt like there was a lot of issues with Tua, but also some things he did very well. And I wanted to see him in another better situation. I feel the same way about Fields now.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. So, but the story of this game was definitely Detroit. Detroit's being able to put themselves back in that chance to make the playoffs. It makes that Panthers loss last week even a little more confusing. That Panthers just kind of dominated them, but I thought they did they still didn't really stop the run in this game, but they did a pretty good job at everything else. And Aiden Hutchinson, another interception.
Yeah, what has happened? I don't get this.
Another one that's thrown right to him too. It just keeps happening. He's got a nose for the football, man.
I guess so. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I don't know. The football gods find it's sort of like in hockey. You know how every now it just feels like the player who had a great game but didn't get on the score sheet ends up being the one who gets the empty netter. I feel like that's defensive lineman interceptions.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is. I don't know. I feel like I basically can watch like the first 10 minutes of the Detroit game and kind of decide what's going to happen. Like it's, I don't know. It just seems like when the offense gets hot and gets rolling, things look pretty good and they might win the game. But if they don't, then you might as well just flip it off. But I mean, they're still fun. They're fun. I mean, this game against Green Bay next week it's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably going to be the Sunday night game as well. I would assume, just given that the Titans Jaguars is on Saturday. A couple funny chats of don't test Hutch Island. I like that. Also, we have someone saying Aiden should have won, or Aiden should be Rookie of the Year over Sauce. I think the issue is just Sauce Gardner's been so good this year. I think in any other year, like Hutchinson has been playing fantastic. He usually would have been the guy. It's just that Sauce Gardner, going up against a guy who's having like a historic rookie year.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I think he's been good, but Sauce has been great. Sauce has been a great football player. Never mind just rookie. Like, so
right.
I just think that's a little bit of a different thing. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with Detroit. How do you like that matchup?
The Lions Packers. I like the Packers in that. I really do. Even though they lost the last time.
Yeah. The run defense is starting to play a little better for Green Bay, and that was a big thing. And I think that's going to be the key in this one.
Yeah. And if you want to hear more extended thoughts on that, on Wednesday, we will preview we'll probably won't preview all the games, but we'll preview all the games that matter and then talk about the ones that don't a little bit. Let's go to Seahawks Jets. So this is how the Jets die. Not with a bang, but with a whimper, as Mike White had a very Zach Wilson day.
Yeah, it was a bit rough. Playing in Seattle is hard, man. That's something I didn't really take into effect when I made this pick. And he looked a little overwhelmed by that moment.
Yeah, I don't. It was a weird situation. I mean, this Jets team just feels dead, don't they? I mean, they just feel like they're. I mean, well, they are dead now. They're out of the playoffs. But I mean, it's such a weird season for them. There was so much optimism, and then they've lost 5 straight games. It's just what a bummer.
Well, it's just like I mean, I don't know. The afternoon games, I watched the Patriots. I went out and grabbed a bite to eat. I come back and it's 17-3 Seahawks, and it's just like, okay, just didn't want to play today. And that's basically all there was to it. I mean, nothing much really happened after that. And yeah, I don't know. For a team we had so much expectations for, and at times really impressed of. I mean, this looked like a trendy team for like that, kind of Bengals run. It just kind of flamed out. And I don't really know why it flamed out, other than Zach Wilson did lose them like 4 games.
Well, I mean, that hurt. I mean, the reality is, again, it's not like Joe Flacco and Mike White were much better, too. I think they were better, but I don't think they were much better. And so it's like, the reality is, I mean, listen, the Jets have done a lot of smart moves. They've done a lot of good decisions, but none of it matters if you don't get the quarterback, and they didn't get the quarterback.
Yeah. So do they have future draft capital lined up, right? Like they made some picks to get some extra picks, don't they? Or were they all last season?
I'm trying to remember. I don't know. I don't believe they have anything major, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah. So I guess the question the Jets are going to have now that they're eliminated, we could talk about the future of this team. The question is now for the Jets, is it a situation where you want to go veteran or do you try and go all in on a rookie quarterback again? Because they're probably going to have to trade up for one of the high-end prospects. Now, there's a few guys out there. There's probably 4 that people are looking at as potential first-round guys long time before the draft. So there's that. But, I mean, in a quarterback market that could include Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, is that something that's probably more interesting?
Yeah, I think you look at like, okay, if we can get Jimmy Garoppolo or Derek Carr, we get those guys. If not, we don't try to just find a veteran. Then we say, okay, we'll sign a bridge quarterback and also draft a guy.
Yeah. My recommendation for the Jets is don't do Carson Wentz.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, I think I would go anywhere else but Carson Wentz. So that's all I got.
Yeah, it's the meme of like, has it worked for anyone else? No, but it might work for us. The Seattle Seahawks stay alive, huge win for them as they had been reeling a little bit as well, but they looked good in this game. Geno Smith looked like Geno Smith again. Kenneth Walker had a great statistical day in this one, and the hope here for the Seahawks is they need a win and they need a Lions win, which is very much possible. Now, one thing that makes things weird is that if the Lions Packers is in fact the Sunday night game, that actually hurts Seattle because if they win, the Lions now have nothing to play for. But still they'll try to beat the Packers at least. So Seattle has a chance, and it's not crazy either. They play the Rams next week. It's totally possible they could see themselves still in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean they really could, and I mean this is another team though where it's like, okay, I mean, is it hard to play like devil's advocate like that? Maybe, but at the same time, like if you look at their last 7 weeks where they dropped 5 games, I mean, there's winnable opportunities there that I felt like they dropped. And now that
Sure.
they're in this spot, it's like, okay, let's just win and take care of what happens and see what happens the rest of the way. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I keep coming back to like it's got to sting looking back at some of those games and looking back at some of those losses and then thinking, well, if we just did a few things differently, we wouldn't even have to worry about this last game.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's they blew some games that they shouldn't. Like that Tampa Bay game was very much a winnable game in Germany. So they have plenty of things to look back on and say if they do miss the playoffs and say we screwed this up. But again, for a team that had no expectations, the fact that you're just fighting for a playoff spot the final week of the season, it's a good year for them.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So
and you still get a great draft pick because the Broncos suck.
Yeah. Oh man, what a time. So yeah, I mean, yeah, there's definitely good vibes in Seattle no matter what happens. I think they'd love to get in the playoffs, obviously. That'd be fun, but I don't think this team's that far off from really being that good, right?
I think they. Yeah, I think I agree. Well, they're weird. They remind me a bit of Tennessee, right? Of like you have this sort of tier 2 quarterback that you not lucked into. They made a good decision, but still, a lot of times it doesn't work out. This time it did work out. You have the receiving core there, so they have kind of the most important spots, and they even have some good young players. But I think that they're moving in the right direction, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah, I think the difference is that they're not trading their tier 1 receivers. It
Right.
seems like,
Not yet.
and yeah, I mean the big thing I do think they need to address a few spots on defense, but the defense is young, and I think it's going to be pretty good here going forward. I think they need a few things, but it doesn't feel like they're that far off.
Right. I think I agree. Let's talk about you brought up him. Let's talk about it. On a podcast last week, I said, I don't hate this Carson Wentz move. I don't think I kind of understand the logic behind it. Well, that didn't work out.
Oh my god. I just he threw straight into double coverage on like the second drive of the game. This guy cannot help himself. It is so funny watching him play quarterback. Oh my gosh. Why? I mean, Ron Rivera should be fired after this. I'm not even joking. Like, this is one of the worst decisions I think I've ever seen. I know you're making an all-in move trying to see if you can make the playoffs, but we've seen exactly what this guy is as an NFL quarterback. We've seen it. We've seen it time and time again. We saw it this season with your team. It's not that he isn't as talented or not more talented than Taylor Heinicke. He's absolutely more talented than Taylor Heinicke. Without a doubt in my mind, Carson Wentz is the more talented quarterback. But I've never
Mhm.
seen a quarterback so consistently put his defense in a terrible spot, and probably the worst spot. The only person who rivals in comparison is Tampa Bay Buccaneers' Jameis Winston, where Bruce Arians didn't care how many times he threw the ball downfield. Like,
Mhm.
this guy has offenses that we've seen Taylor Heineke run this offense and basically never throw the ball downfield. This guy just willingly decides he's going to chuck it up into double coverage constantly. He's one of the worst decision makers I have ever seen on a football field, and he keeps getting opportunities. Who keeps giving this guy a job? This would be like giving Dennis Allen another job at coaching. Oh, wait, that happened too. But at the same time, it's inexplicably dumb that this guy is still getting jobs in the NFL.
Yeah, it really is. You fall in love with the arm talent with him, and I do have to say, this is also a career bad year for him too. Like it's he has the issues. This has also been his worst season,
Yeah, it
so
has
that
been.
doesn't help.
And yeah, I mean, it, he at this point he's not learning. He's not learning, right? He is not
Mhm.
receptive to what his issues are as a quarterback. And I don't know if it's a, you know, learning and listening thing or if it's just a mental thing and he panics back there. I don't know what it is. But it seems like he's not learning and it's not working and it's not fixable at this point. How many teams are going to say we're going to try and fix Carson Wentz before we realize Carson Wentz is not fixable?
Yeah. Probably some more. It's the kind of thing. I feel like this is one of my takes I'm most proud of, Kyle. Is the take of every time there's these quarterbacks who keep turning the ball over, and people say if they can just stop turning the ball over, it doesn't happen. It doesn't work out that way.
No. I mean, have we ever seen an example of it like work?
The best you can come up with is like Peyton Manning, like and but like that was like his rookie year, and then he got not really, no.
Yeah, it was like a 1 year anomaly. It wasn't like actually, I don't know. It's mind blowing that, he was given this opportunity here. Your season's on the line. And like, yes, I don't think Taylor Heineke is the answer. I don't think it's the future at quarterback. I don't think he's a very good quarterback. But you're in this spot to win this game and keep yourself in playoff contention with Taylor Heineke as your quarterback. Like,
Hmm.
I just don't understand why you would mess up with the sauce at that point, right? That'd be like throwing sugar in sauce as soon as it's ready to cook. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Well, again, it certainly did not work out. Also, I think even the more crazy thing is Alpha Omega says in the chat, Riverboat said he didn't know they could be eliminated today. Yeah, that was the thing where he said he was surprised when he found out that they could be eliminated. I don't even know that.
Why would you say that out loud?
Right.
Well, you're just asking yourself to lose your job. I mean, come on, man. Ugh.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
like
Listen,
Ron
Ron
Rivera.
Rivera, good, great guy, good head coach, but the game might have passed him by a little bit.
Yeah, just mind blowing, unbelievable.
Yeah. I really have nothing to say about the Browns. Do you have anything?
Um,
Nick Chubb's
decent.
good.
Yeah, Nick Chubb's good. Decent Deshaun Watson game. All right, Deshaun Watson game. I mean,
Yeah.
it's only 50% completion percentage on 18 passes, but he he had moments in this game where he had like the Deshaun Watson was back, right? Like
Uh
that.
huh.
I would say that he also had a play where he scrambled around for 10 minutes and then threw to an offensive lineman behind the line of scrimmage. That was funny and it was
Hmm.
flagged. But
Uh
outside
huh.
of that, he had some moments that were impressive too.
Yeah, yeah, I think I agree. Let's move on. Let's talk about this was a surprising score for a while. As I guess the Broncos just had the Chiefs' number, but they can't quite seal the deal at the end. Because another surprise is the Chiefs barely get past Denver. It would have been really interesting. I was kind of hoping for a Denver win because that would have made tomorrow night really interesting with Buffalo
Yeah.
and Cincinnati, as the winner would have been for the 1 seed basically. You know, uh, again, one of those classic Kansas City Chiefs games. Like they got bored. It feels like.
Yeah, they put it on cruise control for a little bit. It's also, I feel
Hmm.
like, it was another one of those games where it's the post coach firing kind of galvanized the troop sort of thing where they ran into a team that's just way too good to end up beating overall. But I mean, is this one of the, three best Broncos performances of the season?
I guess so. So I'm going through their schedule right now. So top three. So we have this one. Probably not last week when they got lost to the Rams by a million.
No. I guess
What about
you put that Cardinals game?
yeah? They had the what about week 2 when they beat the Texans 16-9. Or then week 3, they beat the 49ers 11-10.
I guess that's the one. That is the
Uh-huh.
one.
That's the one
You
where
know,
Jimmy Garoppolo stepped out of bounds right before throwing a pick six. Stepped out of bounds at the back of the end zone right before throwing a pick six.
yeah. Oh yeah, that was
And
Sunday night,
that
wasn't
was the
it?
difference.
Oh
What's that?
man, that
Yeah.
was a stinker. Wow, what an awful game. Oh
Yeah. They beat Jacksonville too.
yeah. I guess the one thing, yeah, they did. I guess the one thing out of this game is like, do you feel slightly better about Russell Wilson after this one? Do you say like, okay, maybe we can kind of build on this and build an offensive line, build some receivers, and only if we have the perfect situation around our $200 million quarterback, it'll work out, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. No, you don't feel good about this. You feel terrible. And you're stuck with it, so you gotta hope it works out. You gotta just try it next year and hope it works out.
I might almost eat the money, man. I would consider it.
I don't think they can. I really don't think it's possible. I think they would have to
Yeah,
keep him on the roster and just
they
like
would.
go
Yeah,
somewhere else.
yeah, because it's what, like $107 million if they cut him before next season.
Here
I think I
I'm
said
looking
that
it
right.
up. I'm looking it up right now. It's yeah. So right. So if they cut him this next season, it'd be $107 million in dead cap money.
What's the salary cap? I don't know. That is,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess you're
Would it
gonna
be the
have
worst
to.
move? Would it be the worst move to just say, "Hey, we're just going to suck next year, and then we'll be out of away from this contract"?
Yeah, just hit the blow it up, get Caleb Williams a year after, and
Uh huh.
just sit in cap hell for 2 years, and then all of a sudden when you're out of it, you're good to go. You got Caleb Williams. It works out. Let's do it. Broncos country. Let's die.
All right. Moving on. Why don't we? We have 4 games left
Do you have anything
to
to say
talk.
about Kansas City, or just that they're bored?
Yeah, they're bored. I don't know. No, I don't. Not really.
I do have one thing to say. Kadarius Toney is going to win a playoff game. Like he is.
Uh huh.
He is gonna have a huge playoff game that is gonna win this team a game. It's gonna happen. He's been really good, I think, at times for this team. And Chris Jones, awesome again. He made the big play in this one that kind of sealed the win.
Yeah, I thought. Did you tweet out that he should be Defensive Player of the Year?
He should be in the conversation, definitely.
Uh huh.
I would need it. I'm gonna look at it this week. I'll come at you on Wednesday with my final awards picks.
Perfect. Look forward to it. We'll discuss that next week, perhaps. Okay. Well, 4 games left, and not really a ton to talk about in any of these games. I guess we'll just go. We can get through this one quickly. Texans, Jaguars. I don't know. I mean, I guess there's some. You feel good about the Jaguars. They decided to play their starters, and it wouldn't, or at least for most of it. They stopped because of the blowout more so than anything. But again, things got out of hand very quickly for the Texans. Texans not the best football team, but still they've been playing good these past couple of weeks, and Jacksonville really blew the brakes off of them. So, you feel good about that. I don't know if they have, again, completely meaningless game, but it's still 60 minutes of football tape we saw on the screen, and they looked good in it.
Yeah, they played well. The defense played well in this game. I thought the offense at times played really well. They ran the ball effectively well. This game was meaningless for Jacksonville, though. I mean, at the same time, it's all geared up for
Mm,
next week. I thought they did what they had to do. They basically went in there and got some practice reps, it felt like, this week. So it was I thought that was fine. Um, the Texans, they probably spent. Do you think Texans fans spent more time watching this game or watching Bryce Young and CJ Stroud in their bowl games?
I
What do you
think
think?
probably the bowl games.
I would say so too. So
Yeah, that's what I'd be doing.
impressive CJ Stroud game, I got to say. But yeah,
Hmm.
I would say they probably watched those 2 games more than anything with this Texans team this week.
Yeah. Hey, Texans, you're doing the right thing. Losing a bunch of games. So that's what you got. Both these teams moving in the direction they want to move.
Is the number 1 pick locked? No, Bears are 3 wins, right?
Yeah, Bears are 3 wins, so they need at least another loss will lock it. Bears play the Vikings next week, so so that could be tough. Texans, they play the Colts. Oh, that could go either way.
Oh my god, that might
Yeah,
be another tie.
But at the same time, though, if the Bears do get the number 1 overall pick, they're probably not going quarterback anyway.
Yeah, that's
but they
true.
could
You're
trade
not
it.
worried about it. Yeah, they could trade for a quarterback. Someone wants a quarterback. But yeah, I mean, that would be an interesting draft scenario if the Texans manage to beat the Colts in week 17. And the Colts also equally probably want to lose because they're competing with Denver and Arizona for a draft pick. And I mean,
Uh,
the Rams don't have their pick, so it's not like it matters.
yeah, I have a take where I feel when I'm a fan of a bad team, the last week of the season, I always want my team to lose. Not weeks 1 through now 1 through 17. I still root for my team to win, but the last week, let's lose.
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess you can't blame it at this point when you're looking at those draft spots.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Okay. Again, we don't spend forever on that. It was kind of a meaningless game. We don't spend forever on these last 3. Let's go Titans Cowboys for a second. Kyle, looked like we were going to get another one of those classic Kyle locks backdoor covers as Josh Dobbs came relatively close to getting a touchdown at the end there that would have made it a 1-score game and would have meant that they covered and you would have not gotten your lock. But you get your lock, so congratulations.
Yep, never a doubt. Kind of weird Cowboys game, wasn't it? Like, I don't know. Like they didn't really run the ball. Tony Pollard not being there obviously hurt. This game was not very exciting, I gotta say. Outside of CeeDee Lamb making like 3 really good catches and T.Y. Hilton doing things, like I didn't see anything really that inspiring there.
Yeah, again, Tennessee playing for next week, which again, I feel like everyone's saying Jacksonville's a better team. This is totally either team could win that game.
I don't think it's impossible to say that they could.
Okay, so you are. What would you put the line at?
I mean, do we know Tannehill's? Oh, so
I have no idea.
Tannehill's on IR, so he's out for the season.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, if we're assuming Josh Dobbs is playing Week 18, and this game is where is this game? Is it in Jacksonville? Yes.
It is.
So,
I believe it's in Tennessee.
No, it's in Jacksonville.
Oh, okay.
Saturday night in Jacksonville. I would go ahead and put this at Jacksonville minus 4.5.
Okay, I would say if there's no Tannehill, I might even go like 6.5.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Tennessee, it's you get a fresh Derrick Henry. He got a chance to rest. I mean, this Jaguars run defense is probably their weakness. That's what they're going to ride with, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Again, we'll preview it more on Wednesday. Cowboys 3 turnovers in this game. They got to stop turning the ball over. Their defense that lives on turnovers, those aren't going to be there in the playoffs as much, you would assume. So they can't be the one turning the ball over.
Yeah, it is a that's kind of it was the bad Dak in this game, and that was something that kind of made it interesting for a little bit. If they take care of the ball, they can win games on defense and they can win games running the ball. But they didn't do it in this one. They still managed to win. I guess you take a little bit of that, but Tennessee didn't really care about winning this game.
Yeah, man, everyone is rooting against the Titans on Saturday. No one if you're a Titans fan, you want your team to win. Other than that, everyone is rooting for Jacksonville. I mean, Jacksonville is just a more exciting team.
Yeah, I would say so too.
Yeah,
especially with the injuries.
Exactly, the injuries and just we've seen Tennessee the past 2 years too. It's always fun when there's a new and fresh team. Unless it's your team that you want your team to be in. Chargers beat the Rams in this game.
They did.
Justin Herbert. So then finally,
go ahead. Justin Herbert's still really good.
Chase Daniel, we got a Chase Daniel sighting.
Yeah, he I mean, how many millions of dollars did he earn per these 3 passes? That's the question.
Good amount.
Yeah, good stuff from there. Austin Eckler had a huge run in this game that kind of felt like it was the end of the game in the first half. And yeah, I mean, it was one team looked significantly better than the other. This Chargers defense is coming along now. I think they're still hurt on the corner spot, but like the fact that like Kenneth Murray looks like a passable football player and like they actually look like formidable up front, like this is becoming like a real thing now, right?
Yeah, it is. It's very fascinating. The sort of a lot of these moves early on didn't work out, but they're getting to sort of all coming together now. Again, Joey Bosa, from what I understand, isn't 100%, but just getting him on the field and he still could be a big force. And obviously him and Khalil Mack, that's a huge 1-2 combo. And again, I thought we got to give credit to Brandon Staley. Of last year, kind of went off the rails a little bit. This year, it's the opposite. They're getting better at the right time.
Yeah, they figured it out at the right time of the season. Chargers own the tiebreaker over the Ravens, so all they need to do is win in Week 18, and they get the AFC South opponent while the loser gets the Bengals. That feels significant.
That does feel significant. That's a good point, because I sort of said, okay, but I got the playoffs, whatever. But yeah, that's a very good point. The Rams, I don't know. Whatever, they're the Rams.
I mean, it's just such a brutal season. They don't have their draft pick, right? Like that's got to be something that is that it just got to hurt every time you see this team try and play. And you look at the skill position talent. Like obviously, Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford will be back next season, but like look at the guys you're trotting out there. I mean, it just stinks that you don't have a draft pick at this point with that team. But they won a Super Bowl.
Yep. At the same time, yeah, you're right. It's like they won the Super Bowl, so they're okay. I don't know. You got a good backup quarterback out of this season. I guess there's that positive.
Yeah. Even if you just say like, okay, Donald, you like, could we see a bounce back season for the Rams next year? Like theoretically, it's just going to be you get Donald, you get Stafford, you get Kupp back. Cam Akers has all of a sudden put together a few good weeks. Maybe that's something to build on. And then you hope you can convince one receiver to come to LA, maybe on a cheap contract. Like that's kind of the roadmap, right?
Yeah, or even like a receiver is something you can get in later rounds. Like that's something that you don't have to spend a first round pick on. A lot of guys, good players, go in round 2 and round 3. So yeah, I agree. I don't think the Rams are just going to be screwed for the next 5 years. I think the Rams are in a better spot than the Saints are.
Yeah, I think that's fair. They don't need to trade guys. The Saints probably do.
Right. Yeah, completely agree. Last one with the Chargers. Who would have thought with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, they look better? Yeah,
no kidding. Mike Williams had some incredible he had an incredible catch in that game too. That's good stuff. I mean, yeah, it's looking good for Los Angeles when there was a time earlier this season I did not want to watch them play. All of a sudden they're in a spot that are they becoming the trendy Super Bowl pick again? It seems like the third time this year they're becoming the trendy Super Bowl pick.
Yeah, the Chargers love being a dark horse team. They're always. I feel like Chargers they have the record for being the dark horse team the most.
Change their name to the Los Angeles Dark Horses.
Yeah, there you go. And then they could create a new San Diego Chargers.
Yeah, exactly. Expand out to San Diego.
Right. Yeah, like that. Final game, Falcons Cardinals. Kyle, I know you were taking vigorous notes in this one. You were locked in on Cardinals Falcons. This was a game that you every snap on the edge of your seat to see the Falcons pull off the exciting 20-19 victory over David Blau. What many people are saying is the game of the year, maybe game of the century.
Falcons managed to put together a nice little field goal drive to go win this. First win in Desmond Ritter's career. Yeah, I don't know. As soon as I saw David Blau was in, I was like, I'm good. This was the most meaningless game of the week, right? Like,
I mean, yeah. I mean, the only thing that mattered was draft position.
Yeah, there was no incentive to this. I didn't even know Corey Clement was still in the league, and he was like a significant part of this game. No disrespect to Corey Clement, just saying. Trey McBride looked pretty good in this one. That was something. He had a nice touchdown catch. So, the rookie getting going a little bit.
Yeah, Kyle. The Falcons' leading receiver in this game was Michael Pruitt.
He's put together a pretty decent. Isn't he like a Pro Football Focus darling this season?
Is he? I haven't paid much attention to his season.
Let me look at the tight end grades here. I'll pull that up. Say something nice about the Falcons while I look at this.
Okay, something nice about the Falcons. Drake London is very good. You like Drake London. I like they got a couple offensive line guys I like.
Yeah, Michael Pruitt is PFF's 10th ranked tight end.
Okay, but he's one of those blocking tight ends that PFF goes crazy over.
Yeah, he is. He has a pretty good pass blocking grade. Number 9, Kyle Pitts.
There you go. His previous career high in receiving yards was 20 yards.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, which again, like that's fine. Hey, there's value in that. I'm just saying, like
Yeah.
he's not the guy you want to be leading your team in receiving.
Yeah. Any chance you could name the next 8 tight ends in the tight end rankings?
Next eight, well, Travis Kelsey has to be on there.
He's number 1.
Okay, Mark Andrews, I would assume.
He's 3rd.
Okay, I'm gonna have to do some thinking here. Is Hunter Henry on there?
No.
Tragic. Well, clearly they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I know, right? Um,
Yeah, I don't know. Who are they?
George Kittle is 2nd. Pat
Oh, of
Fryermuth is
course.
4th. Yeah. Dallas Goedert's 5th. The Titans guy, the young kid that I can't pronounce his name that well, Chigozium Okonkwo. I think that's how it is. That's a pretty good shot, I think. David Njoku's 7. And then our favorite tight end, Taysom Hill, number 8.
Okay, yeah. I don't know. Those are guesses I probably could have had, but my brain is fried, Kyle. I've been up since very early. I did not get much sleep last night. Went to the Tampa Bay game. I flew from Wisconsin yesterday. I am very ready to get some sleep.
All right, so you tell me you want this podcast to end?
No, I want to keep going. I want to do another hour on Falcons Cardinals.
Falcons Cardinals. Oh man, I was going to ask you, did you watch any of the playoff games?
Unfortunately, I couldn't. I watched the ending of both of them. That's all I got. Which they were good endings. So it wasn't the worst. But it's just I was traveling all day. It was tough. Unfortunately, I wanted to, but it was just sometimes life gets in the way.
Fair enough. Yeah, I watched the first half car shopping, and then caught the Georgia Ohio State game. Basically, good stuff.
Yeah. Feel bad for that kicker.
Yeah, it's got scholarship. He'll be all right.
Okay, well, I can still feel bad for him. Yeah, I guess people who are dying are worse. Sure.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm just cold-hearted. It's okay.
Okay, I guess so. Yeah. It's someone said in chat, a Falcon would beat a Cardinal in real life too. I think we did a whole bit on this a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think we broke down all of our birds,
Uh-huh.
and I think we basically said we thought a Falcon would win. No, I think we said an Eagle would win, but we said the X factor is, does the Seahawk actually be able to go in the sea? Because if it has the water factor, it's going to win in a landslide. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Right, I think so. I think Cardinal would be the worst in that scenario.
Yeah, Cardinal's done right away.
Yeah, Cardinal does not.
What are
last
other
long.
birds? What are our birds? I feel like I'm missing something.
The Ravens.
Yeah. That's not
Ravens
that's not
okay.
that's not a contender. That's not a contender.
But the Ravens are the equivalent of the guy who's good at football but I can't be in the NFL. The Ravens are like a good bird. They're not the Eagles.
Yeah, it's like Kirk Cousins, and the Eagle is basically a defensive back laughing at him when he sees him in the playoffs. That's what's going to happen. The Eagles taking that out. The X factor here is definitely the Seahawk, because if they have water capabilities, it's over. Like I said, it's over.
Yeah, I think so as well. Come for the football talk, stay for the bird rankings, the bird power rankings. Yeah, Kyle, I guess that's our show. We will be back Wednesday to preview the all of the Week 18 stuff. That should be a lot of fun. Gonna be crazy week here on Jackson Kruger Sports. So definitely make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure that you're paying attention here, as well. Plenty of good content up. Kyle, let them know where they can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. And make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin. And make sure to follow the account pages. That's at On the Sideline JK. That's at On the Sideline JK.
Yes, of course. If you like audio only podcast, anywhere you get the audio only feed, it's available. It's On the Sideline podcast. That is what you have to search there. Who would beat the Bears? I guess the Giants, maybe.
Yeah, I guess a giant. A giant would be formidable against everybody. Does the Patriot get the musket? I guess if he could fire off a shot.
Well, it didn't go so well for Leo in The Revenant.
Didn't he beat the bear? Isn't that the whole point?
I thought the bear ran away, right? Or am I getting that wrong? Did he beat the bear? It didn't go well for anyone there.
Yeah, I guess a Titan would be kind of tough to beat if it's like a mythological Titan. I don't see how anybody beats that.
Yeah, Titan might be tough. I don't know. Did the Saints get Jesus on their side?
Mythological gods against actual gods. The modern gods. We'll see how that works out.
Or maybe the Cardinals.
The question is who's out first? Is the Commander out first? The Cowboy out
I think it's still the
first?
Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are still out first.
They're just gone. The 49er, the gold miner, is he out pretty quickly?
Well, I think
imagine?
a Packer would at least be below a gold miner, right?
Yeah, that's true. In a Steeler, like a steel mill guy, I'm assuming. Yeah, that guy's out.
Yeah, that would be tough. I don't know if a Buccaneer would be great either. You get a sword at least or something.
Well, Mike Leach, R.I.P., said a pirate can beat a soldier. So maybe they get somebody.
Well,
they could take out a Patriot.
There you go. That's the answer to all the questions you've been wondering as you've been listening along, everyone. Thank you again. Kyle, any final thoughts?
Tomorrow's going to be great. Looking forward to that. That's going to be a fun game. Everybody tune in.
Yeah, definitely. Wish the Chiefs lost. It would have been better that way, but it's going to be a great game. I agree. Be on the lookout for. I'll probably make content about that. Be on the lookout for that. And until next time, see you later, alligator.
Peace.